Hey everyone, it's Richard Metalfan here, bringing you guys one more album review for 2022 today. And as you can see below the title, today we're going to be talking about the long-awaited album from one of the best bands in the modern metalcore era. And as you can see below the title, today we're going to be talking about the new album from Miss May I entitled Curse of Existence, which is out now under Sharp Tone Records. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Miss May I, they're a metalcore band from Ohio. Been around since 2007. They've been putting out albums since their debut album, which came out in 2009, entitled Apologies Are for the Weak, which I thought was a pretty good album. And then they've been putting out albums since 2010's Monument, which is still probably like my favorite album of theirs. 2012's At Heart, 2014's Rise of the Lion, then Deathless, and then their last album, which came out in 2017, called Shadows Inside, I thought was pretty good. But that was like 5 years gap, the longest that Miss May I has had. And from what I've heard, I think they were trying to focus on like other lives and stuff. And I know recently their vocalist Levi Benton had a kid a couple years back, and then they started like making their own house. And this album, does it live up or exceed what Miss May I, the Shadows Inside has? In my opinion, I think it has. I think Curse of Existence really shows that. I think the production on this album is great. And just I want to talk about like the vocals, right? I feel like Levi Benton's like screams have gotten a lot more powerful and a lot heavier. It definitely feels like that emotion of like sorrow and anger and everything. Like you definitely can be emotive while you scream. It's not just because you scream like you're pissed off. You definitely feel that. And then the clean vocals from Ryan Neff, their bass player. I think his clean vocals really shine on some of the songs, like The Unconquered, Bleed Together. I feel like both Ryan and Levi's vocals just really go hand in hand with each other. And then the guitar work on this album is pretty tight. BJ Stead and Justin Oftenkamp's guitar playing is really great. Both of them come up with some really great riffs. I know BJ comes up with some really great soloing, and then Justin comes up with some shred-tastic riffs. Both of their guitar playing just goes really well, and they pretty much complement each other. And then the bass playing on this album is pretty audible. I think Ryan really stepped it up. And drumming wise, Jared Boyd, he just comes up with some really sick drum fills and patterns and stuff. So without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, starting things off is A Smile That Does Not Exist. Now, it starts off kind of weird with a little bit of guitar feedback, but then it just turns into face-melting blast beats and a shreddy guitar riff, and then Levi's vocals rasp the verses, and then Ryan's cleans just really dominate the chorus. And it has open chords, battle drums, and group vocals build up before a quick pause and a short vocal call out introducing the crushing breakdown. And I think it's a great song, a great way to show that the band is back and better than ever. Or a great way to start off this album. Strong opener. Moving on to Earthshaker. Now, right from the get-go, it starts off with a great, sick China cymbal smash from Jared. And then this is one of the singles from this album. And then the band delivers unmistakable sound for this one. Ripping guitar riffs and demon screams and just angelic kind of like clean hands. And that has a really good chorus and an earth-shaking, no pun intended, breakdown featuring like really great bends and haunting melodies. Next song on the album is called Bleed Together, and this song was another one of the singles from this album. The lyrics talk mostly about like parent-child relationships and the parents wanting to protect the child. And this topic doesn't stop the boys from getting brutal though. And this song packs a lot, especially like 4.5 minutes in. And it has a great pre-chorus from both vocalists. I feel like Ryan's soothing and now I'm rewriting history before like Levi unleashes like a sick scream of like, please let the apple fall far from the tree. And I feel like the highlight is just the absolute gut punch of a breakdown. In my opinion, one of my favorites from the album. Next up is Into Oblivion. Now, this song features one of the most epic intros to a song I've heard in a while, and the momentum continues throughout the verses with some tremolo-picked guitar riffage backed by some sick double kicks with a really great chorus, which is I just can't even help yelling like Into Oblivion every time that post kind of like chorus comes around. And then Miss May I went really all out on this track, treating listeners to some really great riffage in this. Next song on the album is called Hollow Vessel, and here BJ and Justin leading here with some blistering guitar riffage, and it pretty much grooves up the second time through by Jared dropping back into sort of like a halftime beat, and the band unites with some really great syncopated guitar chugs and the drum kicks before dropping into a very anthemic chorus, and Ryan and Levi just go back and forth with their respective clean vocals and demonic screams, and there's a quick melodic guitar solo pre-breakdown and that massive guitar bend. It just gives me chills when I first heard this. Moving on to Free Fall. Now this pretty much covers the theme of the imposter syndrome. I feel like this song is like an anthem with those who pushed through their fear that took the leap. And this song, I feel like, features everything fans want to hear from a Miss May I song. Blazing guitar riffs, sick vocals, and a sing-along chorus and a great breakdown. And I love how Levi just wails like, I took the leap, this is my free fall. And it seems to encourage listeners by asking, who's coming with me? So, sort of like almost like a call to response kind of thing. Moving on to Born Destroyers. Now, Born Destroyers opens up with a very melodic guitar lead that hits full force with a short kind of like lo-fi intro. And this is pretty much something that reminds me a little bit of like Deathless and Shadows Inside a little bit. And I feel like Miss May I definitely seems to be more chorus oriented than more of the other tracks on here. And it has a very extended kind of like chuggy pre-chorus and the bigger, more sing-along choruses and that very heavy-ish post-chorus. And despite sort of like the odd structure of the song, it's still pretty decent. I mean, in my opinion, probably the weakest of the album. Moving on to Unconquered. Now, this was actually the first single released from this album, and just to know that and I feel like this is a great song to know that the Miss May I are back and they weren't fucking around. And the intro builds and it drops into a bit of almost kind of like a two-step feel before BJ and Justin let some really sick riffs, and then Ryan delivers some really epic vocals during the chorus, and the band delivers probably one of the longest build-ups on the album that drops into a massively riffy kind of breakdown. And Levi's vocal delivery here is on point with him screaming, "Thus life is mine for the taking," which pretty much gives me chills every time. And this is pretty much my personal favorite from the album. Next song is Savior to Self. Now this pretty much has a very end of the world type feeling, and Levi delivers Set the World on Fire, and then the band syncs up with some huge syncopated guitar chugs, and then the drums kick in. And then complemented with some shreddy guitar leads during the verses, and then it settles into another anthemic chorus. And I feel like this song is a bit more haunting than the rest, and there's a really great harmonic guitar riff that kicks in before the band cuts into a colossal breakdown to end this song. And then we finally close things out with Bloodshed. And it has a very backing choir vocals that kick in and sing the song's melody over a heavy chugging riff. And then Jared matches the guitar chugs with kicks before smashing into a massive drum fill. And then the guitarists get their like riffing all going on, and Levi joins Ryan for some dueling vocals and sort of like a slower but very kind of epic feeling chorus. And the boys get down with one last breakdown. And I love how Levi just ends it with Farewell, and it just closes the album. Now, overall, Curse of Existence by Miss May I, great comeback from this band after not having an album out for 5 years. So if I were to give this album a score, I'm going to give this album probably a solid 8.5 or probably an 8 out of 10. So yeah, that's my review of the new Miss May I album, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.